we live in a tower house, a Scottish tower house, which we believe was largely built in the 16th century, but with an extension that was built in the 17th century. The English equivalent is a Grade 1 listed building.
An A-listed building?
It basically means that any significant structural alteration has to be agreed through the planning authorities with Historic Scotland. We've been quite meticulous over the years in abiding by the spirit of that requirement, and I think it's fair to say that we're on quite good terms with our local heritage planning officer.
Yep.
For that reason.
Had a lot of problems with damp, and essentially the walls had been soaking wet.
Well, there's a number of different dampness problems living in a tower house, and I think they're an inherent feature of the structure of the building. They were built essentially of rubble, with some cut stone around the corners, the coins, and around the windows, etc. But it's sandstone, it's porous. Lime mortar was the material that was used for binding it together. Now, lime is an excellent material for building with, and I won't go into the advantages of that, but it does absorb moisture. The lime mortar that we put back in on the outside of the building allowed it to breathe, so that a lot of the moisture went out the way. But there were many tons, I suspect many hundreds of tons of water still in the wall, because at their thickest they're between 4 and 5 feet thick. It gets narrower as it goes up the building, but that holds an awful lot of moisture. Well, this building was built on an outcrop of stone. It doesn't have any damp-proof coursing, but nor does it have a problem of settlement because it is built on solid rock.
It's built on rock.
And but there was undoubtedly some rising damp, and of course a lot of the moisture that came down the way through the lime mortar didn't get out all that easily. So the lower down the building you are, the wetter it tended to be.
I think you found out about Aquapol, didn't you?
We heard about it through the Scottish Castles Association, which had been approached by representatives of the firm, and since we had a particular interest in trying to solve the problem, I think we were tearing our hair out for some particular reason at the time, I can't remember exactly what, we decided that we would ask for a survey to be done, and we've taken it from there. The problem with the Aquapol was that it didn't appear to have a scientific basis that I could understand.
I do, and I was very worried about that. I was very worried that it was a magic ball, and I thought the representatives were extremely nice lads, by the way, but I was really concerned about what was contained in this magic lantern. We've both got scientific backgrounds, and I really wanted to know a lot more detail before we would even consider it.
And I think you were particularly concerned about what the biological effects
were. I was very
were.
concerned about having the representatives explain the physics of it, which I could understand in a way that I could understand and made sense. So that was good. And then they actually introduced a booklet which explained it very well. Not immediately, but eventually, and that was really good. But what concerned me was if this magic ball, this magnetic force, as I understand, can separate the molecules from the wall, the water molecules from the wall, what's it going to do to the water molecules inside me? You know, because people are, what, 96% water? Something like that, isn't it?
It's over 90% anyway.
Yeah, it's about that. So I thought, but actually, so far I'm still here. We've got this Aquapol system. We've had it a year, and I've not noticed any pooling of water in my ankles or my toes. So, you know, it seems to be.
I think we were reasonably
safe.
I mean, even before we got to that, we were reasonably content that there wasn't a significant biological effect of whatever this magic ball does. What really convinced me, I have to say, was that an experiment was done in our house where 2 holes were drilled in the wall near the floor level, and the electrical current was measured. And I can't remember whether it was a positive or negative current that was flowing. But then one of these Aquapol balls was installed in roughly the same area as we presently have one, which is about 10 metres away from the site. And we went and had a cup of coffee for half an hour and went back, and the polarity of the current had reversed quite significantly. I think it was from +200 to -90, or it might have been the other way around, but it was a huge difference.
And there wasn't any jiggering poking going on, it
I mean,
was genuine. They were proper scientists, you know, they knew what they were doing.
And nobody was away turning any knobs.
No. It was a proper experiment.
Yeah.
And,
so we thought it was worth giving it a turn. We knew it had worked, or we'd heard it had worked in other buildings, but we didn't know it would work in a building like ours.
And we were very impressed actually with some of the buildings that it had worked in.
Some of the German Schlosses and works and so
the Hungarian Parliament, which we've been to in Budapest, which was very impressive.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's under the level of the river.
Yeah. So we were very impressed with the provenance, I suppose. I noticed after the system had been installed, literally probably about a week later, maybe a couple of weeks, there was water appearing where it had never appeared before, in strange places. A corner of the doorway from the medieval kitchen into our dining room, there was a little pool of dampness that hadn't been there before, and there was also on the stairs, the straight stairs, the stairs that were added in 1610, there was dampness near the bottom of that, which hadn't been there before, and there was also a trail of brown staining from one of the light fittings in the north hall, down behind one of the pictures. And you know, those
that was water that had stained with iron.
Yes, and it had been white before, so you know there were definite changes. Yeah. Things were happening, and it wasn't the weather, because it was dry.
It wasn't dry. It's normal Scottish weather.
Just normal. Yeah. Normal for Scotland. Yeah.
The important thing is that there is some evidence of whether it's working or not. That unfortunately involved taking a few samples of lime from different parts of the walls before the system was installed, and it's been repeated a year later, and 2/3 of the sites, the dampness level is within the normal range. There has been improvements in the years since it was done, quite measurable and notable improvement. If it works in a building such as ours, then I think it could work in many other buildings as well.